Welcome back to the Weekly News Roundup. This is the business and the silly edition. We did not find any silly tech news, so I just went and got some silly, just random fun news. And you guys will be very happy that I left out the one about the guy something on pepperoni rolls in a grocery store. Don't worry about it. Don't even look it up. Don't even look it up. Anyway, let's go ahead and dive on into the business news. These are recorded live Fridays, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. First up, there is actually a little snag in the Sackler's Pure Global Immunity Plan. Department of Justice looks at this and says, what in the hell are you thinking about, Mr. Judge? And so if you remember from last week, I believe we covered where the Sacklers reached a deal. They're going to be paying like $4 billion. But in return for that, of course, paying $4 billion of their $10 billion in a bankruptcy court to get total global immunity for everything else related to opioids. So they're left, if you're doing math, they're left with about $5.5 billion left to their name in bankruptcy court to get pure immunity for opening up a drug that has killed millions. Now, I still think that we need to seize all of their assets, lock them in jail for the rest of their lives, and distribute their assets among their victims. But the Department of Justice looked at this and said, no. They apparently have oversight over the bankruptcy courts, particularly the one here that prevailed in this. The Department of Justice looked at this and said, no deal here. This is not good. They're asking for an immediate stay, an expedited stay, meaning that they want to prevent the implementation of any settlement in order to keep the Sacklers accountable for what they've done wherever and however. Their goal, of course, let's pay about half of our wealth in order to avoid the litigation for the rest of our lives. No, they should be litigated into bankruptcy. I'm sorry, when you create a drug that is highly addictive and then you tell people it's not addictive at all, and then you use illegal off-labeling to push it into people's hands, get them addicted to it, and then push it on over in the streets. I'm sorry, you need a whole lot more than paying some of your money, leaving you with $5 billion left to your name. But we'll see what happens with the Department of Justice on that. We'll keep you updated as we hear anything else. Well, Google was illegally underpaying thousands of workers across dozens of countries. And what this boiled down to is, of course, I've talked about this in the academic situations before. Being a former college professor, I was a full-time professor, and I had some adjuncts under me. Well, the universities really like the adjuncts because they literally cost the university between a quarter and a third of what the full-time professors cost. You pay them a lot less. You don't have to give them the whole medical plans. You don't have to give them retirement, all these types of things. They cost you almost nothing. This is what's caused university education to become so bad lately, because many schools, the trend is to not refill positions as people leave, retire, or in some cases, let's just lay off the full-time faculty that costs us a lot of money, and let's just hire an adjuncts. And so it's not uncommon for adjuncts to work for 3 or 4 different colleges, and then they're just trying to fit in a bunch of things. They don't necessarily have how shall we say, a lot of dedication to the job. Education overall suffers. Well, Google is doing the same thing. They have contractors for doing their various jobs. And it turns out that some jurisdictions like the UK, they have a rule that a contractor cannot be paid less than the full-time workers in the same positions. And Google didn't keep to that, and they just kept on underpaying and understaffing. Mostly this applies to, I think it's UK, India, Ireland, few other places where they were not paying people the correct amount based on the law and what other full-time workers were making. And so they've been hiding this under the rug for a long time, but they can't hide it under the rug any longer. The pile of dirt shoved under there has gotten too high. So we'll see what happens with this. A lot of people are suing for illegally withheld back pay funds and stuff like that. So with that, we'll see what happens to Google. And next up, we have Epic Games. Now, a lot of people have covered this, so I'm not going to cover it in a whole lot of detail, but just a brief summary. It was kind of a wash. So Epic Games won, and then Apple has 90 days to open up other payment options inside of apps so that people can indeed choose. But at the same time, Epic knew what it was doing was wrong, so they ruled that Epic has to pay back all of the profits that Apple would have had they not done weird things to get around the Apple payment. So Epic really didn't win anything monetarily here, but in the future, they do have the ability to add something in, assuming that Apple lets them back into the store, because part of the court ruling is that the judge found that no, Apple did not violate any specific laws. Epic chose to play the game. Epic chose to violate the very clear rules, and Epic got banned from the store. And so it's a win. I mean, they're saying here, major win for Epic Games. It's really not, because they have to pay back millions of dollars to Apple anyway. It's just that Apple has to open up other apps to other store payments as well. But whether or not Epic Games can participate in that is, well, up to Apple down the road. And so there you have, they did rule it's not an antitrust violation, things like that. We'll see what happens with that a little bit further down the road. Well, this one, it was a hard time picking which was going to be my featured story today, because this one is just so good. A leaked document reveals special rules that Facebook uses, and yes, they're racist. They do call it a whitelist. So the whitelist is 5.8 million special user profiles. You know, politicians or influencers, people who would have a publicity problem if Facebook were to rule against them in some matter. But these 5.8 million people have special rules that do not apply to the rest of the peons and plebs. So guys, just your regular reminder here, delete everything Facebook. Get off Facebook, get off Instagram, get off WhatsApp. Just burn and trash that crap. If everybody burns and trash that crap, then this Schmuckerberg here, he pretty much loses everything. But he stays in power. You guys complain, oh, he's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad. Yeah, it is so bad. But you know what? It's only so bad. It's only so bad because you keep on using his service. So they talk about PR fires. They don't want public relations nightmares if they censor or remove some posts from some influential person. This is what's up with what's that lady right now that's kind of saying like, hey, do your own research before you just blindly inject yourself with weird stuff. And that's going to cause a big fire. And so they're like, oh, what do we do? She's a huge influential person. She's telling people to actually do research and think and use their brains. No. And so this is kind of the type of thing they're trying to avoid, but at the same time, they're playing the political game here and really only giving protections to people that will have the same viewpoints that they want, because everyone else they can just cast off as evil anyway. And so, yeah, special treatment for some people over there on Facebook. Very exciting. But of course, since Mozilla showed up in the news, we had to do this one. And I'll take the moment right now to say that my Saturday premiere this week is looking at Mozilla requested Ubuntu to package it as a snap package by default, including from the terminal. We'll talk all about that in my show tomorrow if you're watching this live, or yesterday if you're watching the recorded version of this. So have a look at that video there, which is I think I call it something like Mozilla went and did it again or something like that. I don't know, but you can find that over there on the channel as well. In this case, they did something really fun. Windows 10 makes it very difficult to change your browser. Well, unless, of course, you're changing your browser to Edge. I mean, you accidentally sneeze wrong on the computer and things like, great, congratulations, you've switched to Edge for everything. And you're like, oh, God, everything on my computer now opens with Edge. Like, why am I opening a picture with Edge? And so, but, you know, that's what Windows has tried to do. Well, Mozilla found a workaround that allows you, if you click the Firefox, make Firefox the default button, Mozilla actually found a workaround that works for Windows 10 right now. Anyway, that if you download and run Firefox and it's not your default browser, clicking the button now actually works. Whereas in Windows 10, the methodology, it's not as easy as just saying, hey, this was my default application. You actually go into settings and manually change it. Windows 11 is actually going to be way harder to do that. So that's exciting. But Mozilla made it easier to switch to Firefox. Recently, I'm pretty sure a future update's going to break this, but that's all right, So they do have a workaround now, so that's really good. So as much as I'm critical and highly critical of Mozilla and will be again on my video tomorrow, I have to call them out for praises when they do something right. Like anything messing with Microsoft is right. Okay. Within the law, of course, within the law. So anyway, Mozilla's battling Microsoft. They win this little war, or this little battle, I guess. I'm pretty sure Microsoft's going to come back and crush them later. They're going to be like, Mozilla's spyware. I'm sure that's going to be Microsoft's next move, but we'll go ahead and see. Well, if you'd like to help support the channel, I do have affiliates today. I'm highlighting Linode. I'm using Linode personally for my private VPN, for my website hosting, Nextcloud, and a bunch of other cool, fun servery type things. You can use my affiliate link here, tlm.li/Linode. Get $100 in credit. This is good for 60 days. You can spin up as many Linodes as you would like, and then at the end of 60 days, close down the ones you don't want, keep the ones that you do, and then the pricing from there is actually very reasonable after that. So go ahead and have a look at Linode, tlm.li/Linode. Well, guys, let's get silly. First up in Sillyville, and as I said, I usually try and do tech Sillyville, but there just wasn't anything in tech that was silly this week. So I just went with the general stuff. Well, if you've seen the documentary on Super Size Me, you have seen this guy in it. He was in there, and he had eaten a Big Mac for every day of his life. Well, he just this last month got the Guinness Book of World Record holders for most Big Macs eaten daily for 50 years. And so every single day he's eaten Big Macs for 50 years. You can see he's not like this big, huge, fat guy here. And a lot of that is because he doesn't drink the sodas and stuff or eat the French fries. He just likes the burgers. And so there he is. He's 67 years old, and he has eaten a Big Mac every single day of his life for 50 years. Very fascinating indeed. Dedication to your food. Well, we talk about the weak power grid. And over here in North Carolina, a snake knocked out power for an entire North Carolina town. And so utility officials in North Carolina said a snake was responsible for a substation fire that left an entire town and the surrounding area without power. Duke Energy said more than 1,400 customers in Denton and the surrounding area were without electricity Wednesday morning after a snake came into contact with the equipment at the substation, sparking a fire. This is one of the reasons we are making electrical grid improvements, and the reasons, yeah, I think. So be careful of them snakes. They might shut down your power. That's exciting. Well, over in Wisconsin, somebody had spotted a cow in the backseat of a car. Not a truck, a car. Have a look at this. That car, there's a cow back there. I think he was just taking it over to McDonald's to give them some beef, I think. What? There's so many questions about this. Why is there a cow in the back of your car? Is it so that when you get in a traffic jam, you can go, Merv, Merv. Or maybe if you just need to cause a ruckus, you could just open up the door and let them out, and then there's a cow running all over the interstate. I don't know. I have so many questions about this. What's going on in Wisconsin that people are driving around with cows in their backseat? And guys, I absolutely had to include this one because of my current circumstances. A couple road trips in a converted hearse nicknamed the Grim Sleeper. Couple said they plan to use the hearse for all future road trips. So rather than take a car or an RV or a converted ProMaster van, they decided to road trip in a converted hearse. Shannon Orr, 24, and Ian Cameron, 31, of Warrington, UK, drove across Scotland's North Coast 500 in their 1998 Volvo 960 hearse with their two bulldogs, Billy and Peanut, according to SWNS. The couple got so much attention on their trip they nicknamed it the Grim Sleeper, and even started an Instagram account for it, the news agency reported. So here is some photos, of course. Here's them. So here is their hearse. So you got their little hearse here, and I guess they just put a bed back there. Nice. I like this. I'm going to have to think about getting me something like this. I've not seen one of these where I can produce this nice little thing there. Have a nice outside section, but that's pretty cool. I'm digging it. Here's their inside. They got their bed back here where the coffin used to be, and looks like some trays and stuff. Yeah. Here is a side view. They got their little caddy up here. So there we have it, guys. There we have it. The Grim Sleeper. Why did I not come up with this idea? Oh, boy. Well, anyway, that's what we have for you in the way of Sillyville. You can help support the channel over on Patreon. That will cover all of my different channels. Eventually, I'll get the Van Life channel up there soon as well. But anyway, with that, we are at patreon.com/TOMM. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we will see you next time. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.